Hi everyone, I want to make a quick video on a topic that is very misunderstood, especially for newer controllers as they're just getting started controlling here at Indy Center. The topic in question is rerouting aircraft. Reroutes have historically been an area where training clearance delivery controllers really get hung up on. However, over the last year or so, through a couple different documents, Indy Center has really fine-tuned this process and has made it pretty simple. So today I want to go through that process and how we actually issue the reroutes when we need to. The first question that we need to answer is, how do we know if an aircraft needs to get rerouted or not? This really boils down to four main topics. These topics are found under reroutes and altitude restrictions on the ground in the ATC Handbook on the Indy Center website. The four topics are: if a preferred route exists in the NFDC database, if the route is specified in a facility SOP, as specified by event staff for event purposes, and to ensure an aircraft exits the TRACON through a valid departure gate, as specified in facility SOP. We'll start by going through each one of these topics one by one. First, a preferred route exists in the NFDC database. We'll open up the NFDC database. When you open it up, you'll be met with this page. The easiest way to do this whenever you're working an airport, type in that airport in the origin. So in this case, we'll use Louisville. So Sierra, Delta, Foxtrot. We will always omit the kilo part. And then we can hit submit search. Here, we're met by 9 different route strings. These are different airports that aircraft would be flying to. Here at Louisville, there is only 9 different route strings that are required by the NFDC database. If an aircraft is filed between, for example, Louisville to Newark, and they're a turbojet, and they happen to be filed above flight level 240, they have to be filed on this routing. So if you see an aircraft that is not filed on this routing, you would make an amendment to their flight plan and issue the revised clearance that includes this route. Just to show you how little ZID has in terms of preferred routing, under the departure RTAC I put in ZID, and this will pull up every single preferred route that exists for aircraft departing out of ZID. This includes Louisville, Dayton, Cincinnati, Columbus, etc. As you can see, there's only 29 preferred routes in all of ZID. So, like I said, if you're working a particular airport, just put that airport in the departure and you can pull up the specific routes for that particular airport when you're controlling. Next is the second topic. That topic is as specified in facility SOPs. This is probably the one that you will use the most, especially since our NFDC database is so small here at ZID. To access the facility SOP, you'll go to the Indy Library on the Indianapolis website, and here we're going to scroll down to the clearance delivery section. This section covers everything IFR and VFR, in addition to some additional things that you have to know as a clearance delivery controller here at ZID when you're working at the Louisville Tower. In this case, we're looking at the Louisville SOP. Not only do we have information such as altitude, what we're looking at here is the route section. The route section is this entire area here. So, starting at the top, clear all jet departures, keyword jet, via an applicable RNAV departure if they are RNAV 1 equipped, or radar vectors to their first fix, or as filed for non-RNAV or non-RNAV 1 compliant aircraft. There is also a note here. All aircraft filed at or above 11,000 feet must be cleared via SID or an initial route from the table below. This is the part where we're talking about when we were referencing as specified in the facility SOP back in the ATC Handbook. So, if we have an aircraft that is flying westbound out of Louisville, if they are an RNAV Jet, they must be filed on the Get Gone departure. If they're going out to the west, but they are not an RNAV Jet, so an RNAV prop, let's just say, then they must be filed via GetGone and then Apollo. If they are a non-RNAV capable, so think of like a 727 or a 747-200, something that doesn't have RNAV, they must be filed via this route string here, IIU Victor 4 Apollo. And again, this table is only applicable to aircraft that are filed at or above 11,000 feet. So let's say you have an aircraft that's filed at 9,000 feet. 9,000 feet is lower than 11,000 feet, therefore there is no routing requirements for that aircraft. So this table would not apply to somebody filed at 9,000 feet. Anytime somebody is filed above 11,000 feet, at or above 11,000 feet, they must be filed on a route that exists in this table. The third topic is as specified by event staff for event purposes. That routing requirement will be included in the event briefing provided to you as you log in prior to the event during the event briefing. Lastly, to ensure that aircraft exits the TRACON through a valid departure gate as specified in facility SOPs goes along with task number 2. So aircraft must exit the TRACON through a valid departure gate. That is what we were doing when we were talking about routing aircraft via routes in this table. Let's look at some real-world examples. Here we have American 2700 that pre-filed their flight plan. We can see on their flight plan, they're filed from Louisville to Charlotte, and their routing looks a little suspect. Here they only have one VOR, no SID, no star, into Charlotte. They're an Airbus A321 slant Lima, and they're filed at flight level 250. First thing we need to do is we need to check the NFDC database to see if there's a preferred route from Louisville to Charlotte. To do that, we'll go back to the NFDC database. We can type in Louisville, destination Charlotte, and hit submit. Here, we have two route options. EVA 1 Shipper Taft Parker 4 or Lockhart 1 Lockhart Country Skyway Phillips 4 arrival. I'm just going to pick the top one, EVA 1 Departure Shipper Taft Parker. Copy. And we'll paste it in their route. To denote that we have made this change in the remarks section, we'll type in FRC for full route clearance and hit amend. When we do that, a new flight strip will be created, and we can move that flight strip to the bay. Here we have our correct routing, EVA 1 Shipper, Taft, Parker 4. We have the note that it's a full route clearance, and we can delete the old one. The next example, we have November 1903 Charlie Zulu, filed from Louisville to Mike Lima, India. You can see there is no route, so they're just filed direct Louisville to Moline. They are a Bravo 190 slant Gulf. That's a Beech 1900 slant Gulf. That's a twin turboprop aircraft. So we know that they need prop routing. They are filed at flight level 200, so therefore the table of routes applies here. And again, they're a prop. So we can check the NFDC database if there's a route from Louisville to Moline. I already did. There is not one. So the next thing that we need to do is assign this aircraft a route from the table in the SOP. Looking at the route, we have a lot of different options to choose. Now, me personally, I don't know where the Moline airport is, the Mike Lima India airport is, so I don't know which direction he is going. So, to figure this out, we can use a program like SkyVector, type in the departure, type in the destination, and you can see down here is Louisville, up here is Moline, so it's going to be a northwest exit out of the TRACON. If you're more familiar with Navigraph or ForeFlight or any of those other products, feel free to use those instead of SkyVector. So what we'll do is we will find the route that goes out to the northwest that's listed on the SOP. Going back to the SOP, we have west, we have north, and we have another north. So which one do we choose? Here's a pro tip. If you go back to SkyVector, change your map to world low. You can see our route kind of mirrors Victor 171. Let's see if there's any routing that mirrors Victor 171. So when we go back to the SOP, here under north, IIU Victor 171 to Honus. Now this aircraft is a slant Gulf, so they are GPS equipped. So what we'll do is we'll give them the RNAV equivalent of IIU Victor 171 Honus, and that is Hannon and Red Horse. So just to make sure that I check my work, I'll just copy that route, go back to SkyVector, I'll paste that into the route, and as you can see, Hannon and Red Horse mirror Victor 171 perfectly. So I'll take that route, I'll put that in the flight plan, I'll hit amend, a new strip is created. Before I pull this into the bay, I'll go ahead and add full route clearance. Move that one to the bay with the full route clearance. Just check it again one last time. Louisville, Hannon, Red Horse, Moline. And we can get rid of the old one. The tip of switching to the low en route chart works very well for prop aircraft and non-RNAV aircraft, since we can see the low airways and we can see those route strings like Hannon and Red Horse. However, for turbojet aircraft that are RNAV capable, this isn't the best way, since some of the SIDs don't necessarily exactly parallel the Victor airways here in Louisville. So let's look at an RNAV turbojet aircraft that needs a reroute. Throughout your training here at Louisville, you might start seeing some of these departures that you don't immediately recognize from, let's say, Navigraph. These departures, and they always start with an SD, are midnight UPS departures. These departures help in expanding the flow of departures out of the airspace at times when arrival demand is really low, around 2 a.m. to 6 a.m. Unless you're controlling at 2 a.m. to 6 a.m., these routes need to be changed. If you don't change them, they could cause conflicts with arriving aircraft here at Louisville. So, we need to figure out what SID to put this aircraft on that kind of goes in the same direction as the UPS SID SD CVG1. To do that, we can go back to SkyVector, and this aircraft is going from Louisville to Hamilton, CYHM. If we get rid of the route, we can see this aircraft. Here's Louisville, here's Hamilton, goes out to the northeast. So, like I was saying, for RNAV turbojet aircraft, using the world low chart isn't always helpful, because we have SIDs that aren't necessarily depicted or don't follow a Victor airway here. A better method to use if you have Navigraph is to go to Navigraph, set your airport to Louisville, select Procedures and Departures. Here you can see every single SID that Louisville has that we could route aircraft on. So remember from the SOP, RNAV turbojet aircraft must be routed via an RNAV SID, and here is all of our RNAV SIDs. So we'll pick the one that most goes to the northeast. In this case, I would probably use the Spiller 1 departure. We know we're going to use the Spiller 1 departure. We could probably use the Bangan transition. So I'll put that into his route. Now we need to figure out where we're going to tie his old route back into the new route. So we can use our map to help with this. Here is Cincinnati. So it wouldn't really make sense for this aircraft to be routed via Spiller and then make a sharp right turn to Cincinnati and then rejoin the rest of this route. So instead, we might tie it back into the Dreyer VOR, which is Delta Juliet Bravo. So we'll get rid of everything prior to Dreyer. And now we have Spiller 1, Bangin, Dreyer, Durlow, and then the Tickham 2 arrival. So that looks like a pretty good route to me. We can type in full route clearance. However, we're keeping some of the old route, so we need to denote that somehow, and we'll do a /, and then we'll type in the fix at which we resume the filed route, which in this case is Dreyer. So we have full route clearance / Dreyer. We'll hit amend. Move that one to the bay. And now we have a correct route for any time of day. Get rid of the old one. Now we can issue this amended route. There is one more way to get good routes, particularly for RNAV turbojet aircraft. This is kind of a shortcut in a way. The shortcut is to go to FlightAware, Flight Tracking, IFR Route Analyzer, and then we can type in the origin and the destination airport. In this case, Louisville, destination Hamilton, and we can hit Find Route. Here, we can see that an aircraft flew this route 5 times from Louisville to Hamilton, and the route they flew was Spiller 1 Bangin, Dreyer, Durlow, Tickham 2 arrival. And if that doesn't match up, what we came out on our own. Now just remember, if you use this method, the only routing requirements that we require as a facility are just the ones that are contained either in the NFDC database or in this table, or if there's any event routing. So anything after Spiller 1 departure is not technically required. I wouldn't delete it, but if this aircraft had none of this route, Dreyer, Durlow, Tickham 2 arrival, you are not required to add that. The only part that you are required to add is what is in this table, Spiller 1 departure, which we've added here. So just as a recap, first thing we're going to look at is there a preferred route in the NFDC database? If there is not, which, like I said, there's a very high likelihood that there is not a preferred route since we only have 9 here at Louisville. If there is not a preferred route, the next thing we will do is we will assign a route from this table. Again, the only thing we care about is either the SID or the RNAV route string or the non-RNAV route string. If they are below 11,000 feet, we don't care about any route. And all jet, turbojet, RNAV capables must be cleared via the RNAV departure that's in this column. Once we find the route, we amend the route in CRC. We'll put full route clearance, either just full route clearance or full route clearance / the fix at which we tie in the original route. We'll put that in the remarks. We'll hit amend, and we will issue the amended clearance. I hope that clears up the sometimes complex and convoluted way of reroutes here on the VATSIM network. If you break it down very generally, it's really not that bad, especially through the tools that we have provided to you in the ATC Handbook and the SOP. there's really very little that the clearance delivery controller has to do in terms of reroutes on a day-to-day experience controlling on the network. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to any training staff members here at CID, and we hope to see you on the scopes soon.